I have my friend Dr. James Enns with me again today to talk about reading. This is something that James is very good at. He loves history and he loves ideas. So whenever I have a question about history, he's the guy I like to talk to. But today, James has got a book that is a lot more contemporary and dealing with something much more than ancient history. So tell us about this one. This is an important work that you're going to tell us about.
I believe it is, yes. And this book, I'm not entirely through. I'm about halfway there, but I'm already on board with it in terms of understanding its importance. Unfortunately, I don't have the glossy dust cover with it, so I will turn it this way and just give you the spine. It's called Irreparable Damage. It's written by an investigative journalist who writes frequently for the Wall Street Journal, Abigail Schreier. Um, and it's not very long. It's only well, maybe just over 200 pages. But as the subtitle of the book here, let me read that for you. Irreversible Damage, the Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters. And having raised three daughters who are now adults themselves, this book hits particularly close to home. And being a grandparent to a granddaughter,
Right.
realizing that she is going to grow up in the environment that's described here in the book. And let me say that Abigail Schreier is, again, not a believer. She's a careful reporter. And this is not just a screed against people who identify as transgender or lesbian or gay. She's very careful to distinguish those that struggle with or have experienced some degree of gender dysphoria, are trying to cope with that as best they can. There's been clinical identification there, and basically they just want to get on with their lives and live outside of the spotlight, as opposed to those who are activists and crusaders for a kind of a trans culture that seeks to seduce particularly young girls into a new kind of belonging and deliberately entice them away, especially from any kind of parental influence and authority in their lives, to a gender identity that it isn't so much transitioning from being a girl to a boy. It's rather what ends up happening is, I just don't want to be a girl and I don't want to be either. And the way in which this has taken shape, whether it's through online activists, whether it's through aggressive school programs, celebrity promoters, it's really insidious, and it is doing irreparable damage to young adolescent girls in particular. The number of identifying young girls as trans within the last few years, I think since about 2010, has gone from like 1 point something percent to over 10%.
Wow.
She saw the statistic and said, "Wait a minute, something strange here," and so began investigating this and sort of unmasked a culture of seduction and destruction of young lives.
And then we need to just affirm again here that this author is not a Christian on a
No,
crusade against
no,
some moral challenge.
no.
She is not in that vein at all. Tell us again who she is.
Abigail Schreier is her name.
Okay.
I just have the last name
Yeah.
here. And oh my, she has taken she has been assaulted in a lot on social media, especially by the bear that she has poked,
Yes.
exposed. But the parents who are just at their wits' end in terms of trying to reach out and help their daughters in any way possible, have just sort of seen her as something of a lifeline, that are just saying, "Oh, this can help me understand." It's still a huge battle for people, but it's written very caringly and sympathetically for the people involved, but most noticeably for these victim children, and the way in which helping parents are labeled as enemies in this particular matter.
Well,
It's so sad.
this is a serious issue that's not finished with our day.
No,
It's
not by
just
any.
right now we're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving us a resource that
Mhm,
can help us get some objectivity on this, because
mhm.
almost everything we hear in the media is so slanted another way.
Yeah,
And any voice that seems to want to suggest something different seems to get snuffed out or
that's
hammered out in some way. Boy,
yeah, and we're seeing that even now by self-identifying gay and lesbians who are now under assault by this more radical trans element, because it's not about being say a woman who just is sexually interested in same sex and not men. It's about not even being a woman anymore, but being
wow.
something other than.
Yeah,
So it's a real assault on identity and
yeah.
sexuality in any meaningful
And
way.
does Schreier report on like the medical irreversible damage that's being done as well?
That's in the latter part of the book
Yeah,
that I haven't gone to yet. But
yeah,
the irresponsible advertising of hormone therapy,
yeah,
testosterone, rushing to mastectomy surgeries to remove any sense of your own femininity and the damage that that does. Yeah,
yes,
it's well documented.
yeah. Wow. Well, that was a serious one, and
Yeah, I
not
wasn't
not
an
an enjoyable read, I would think.
no, no,
No.
but I think it's an important one.
Yeah.
As
Well,
parents, as people who are going to be in some way in the working in the public square and wanting to bring a genuine Christian voice there, this is an important book.
yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention too, James.
Yeah, gladly. Wish the news were better.
Yeah.